Okay. The collective consciousness today has been really impressive. We've all really talked about how obviously meditation has changed our lives. That was the assignment. But but it's also been about the journey. So here's another journey, and this one's mine. Okay. Let's all start with a little ground base knowledge. Okay. In Ayurveda, which is a way of life in India, but in the Western world, we see it more as a style of medicine. There's these things that are called your doshas, which are essentially the alchemies that make you up as a person. Okay, we have pitta, which is fire and water. We have vata, which is ether and air, and we have kapha, which is water and earth. We're all made up of all three alchemies, but you have two that are most predominant. Mine's are really obvious. I'm fire and wind, obviously. No one's surprised by that. My mom always used to tell me as a little girl that I had an intense personality, and I know this about me, like, you know. And this fire within me, it's been a journey to kind of work with it, to tame the fire and not allow that it just creates a shitstorm of fire and wind, because that's horrible. But it's the reality of my alchemy, and it's really strong. So fast forward, college, I'm doing all the right things, right? I move out of Puerto Rico, I get the scholarship, I get through university, I did a dual concentration, I got all of the different check marks that you had to just get. I did it. I graduated with amazing grades. I had a job before I graduated college, all of the internships, all the things. I did it. And then I got to the corporate world, and the corporate world lit a fire under me. And I was already so much fire. And I was like, I'm gonna smoke it. I'm gonna do so good. And I did. I really did. It was, I'm also a Leo. Like double, like my rising and it's so bad. And it was just like, I got so competitive, and not just competitive with myself, competitive with everybody around me. I wanted to get the promotion. I wanted to have the highest earnings projects. I wanted to work internationally, and I did it. And I fucking killed it. And obviously we all know where this goes. I got corporate burnout, no surprise. Shocking. But in the midst of that, I did my first YTT. And in my first YTT, we're having a beautiful opening ceremony, and everyone's sharing why they want to do the YTT. And I quickly realized that the reason why I wanted to do YTT is because I wanted to do a handstand, and I wanted to float in between my vinyasas. I did not care about anything else. And they're people were saying these beautiful things. I'm going to connect so much to myself. And I want to find my inner light. And I was like, I just want to float. That's all I want to do. But my teacher, Shannon, she was my first teacher that introduced me to Ayurveda and the doshas. And we did this little quiz, and I came up as Pitta Vata. And she looked straight at me, and she's like, sometimes what this is really trying to teach us is how to manage the energies and the alchemies within. That went straight out of my head. I was like, when are we going to do the anatomy class? I want to get to the Ashtanga portion of this training. But little by little, it sank in. Little bits and pieces started to sink in, and I realized that there was a lot of power and softness. And that this fire within me was starting to become damaging. Relationships seemed really disposable. People at work were just a stepping stool for me to get to the next level. And I was just so consumed with the idea of like, I'm fucking great. So this started to soften me. Yeah, sorry. And I decided, okay, maybe like I'll teach a little bit. So I started running the community yoga program at that studio. I don't know how this teacher let me do that. She's an angel. Because she knew. She would always just look at me and be like, you firecracker, you. But I did it. Then the pandemic hit, and I was straight back into fire mentality. It's sad how quickly we can come out of it and how these learnings can wash off when we're not consistent with the practice. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do 2 masters because we're working from home. This is the perfect time. I did it and completely destroyed everything around me. The fire then became a wildfire that was killing myself and was killing absolutely everything that I touched. Everything. Had the most, one of those like heartbreaking, aching, world-shaking breakups. My parents got really sick, and not from COVID, which was really weird because it was 2020. I had to go back home, and I told everybody, because I'm strong, right? So I told everybody, okay, I'm going back home because I just don't want to like be in 4 walls. I'm gonna go back to Puerto Rico and I'm gonna lay on a beach. No, I was messed up. I had to pick up the pieces of myself. And I started therapy with this lady that had an interview. She was like, hey, just so you know, I'm Buddhist. And my therapy sessions are a little bit different. And I was like, listen, you're available and I just need to talk to someone. And she started dropping these little hints of things that started to land. But it took a really long time because within that fire, I became an incredibly, I forgot the word. Terca, somebody, stubborn, thank you. I became really stubborn, so even though I was really trying to expose myself to the teachings, nothing was landing. The ground wasn't fertile. It was like there was the intention of doing the thing, but it would just nothing was sticking. The fire just kept burning everything that it touched. So this Buddhist lady was so nice. She kind of was like a grandma, took me in, and things started to land. We got through the pandemic. I got through the really bad breakup. And at that time, corporate burnout caught up with me. I got fired, which was horrible because I disassociated from work. Let's be honest. Nothing happened. Like it wasn't a merger that they cut people out. No, it was because of me. I cut so many relationships out and I needed those people. And then when I needed them, they weren't there because I had not been a very good person. So then I did what everybody does. Eat, Pray, Love. There's literally a book on it. So I go to Southeast Asia and I found myself some cool teachers and it was all about taming the fire. And I came back and that's just kind of been my journey with meditation and Buddhism. The big takeaway is I tried so many different practices. Like I've done the sacred special medicine ceremonies, all of the Bikram classes, anything that you could imagine under the sun. Like I did it just to like try to feel something. But if you don't create the fertile ground within you, it's not gonna land. It's not gonna stick. And that desire has to come from you, as many of us have said today. If that spark doesn't come from you, nothing outside of you is gonna give it to you. The next promotion, the new car, the cool Eat, Pray, Love adventure, it really has to come from you. And you can get to a place in your life where you feel like you have everything, but you have nothing if you don't have yourself. So that's the story of my corporate burnout turned into a yoga teacher. Thank you everyone for being here. I wanted to thank the teachers for being so honest to the lineage because it makes a difference. Studying things that have structure and have a meaning help it stick. When we're out just searching for teachings that don't have an essence, they don't stick. And we're incredibly privileged to have every single one of you here. We're incredibly privileged to have the TAs. I'm over time, so I'm gonna cut it there, but I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone. Thank you to everyone here, and know that you've built fertile ground for yourself. And that's some hard shit.